Well, Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I had to make a hot chocolate after this book because fam, she was steamy. It's not really hot. This book, before we start, preface, always, if you are after a book review with no spoilers, you should go find somebody else to watch, because I am not capable of talking about a book without spoilers. So, if you're happy for a book review with spoilers, you can stay. Otherwise, I'm warning you now. Okay, so, Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This was amazing. This was great. I loved this book. I wish I had more coherent thoughts for you on this book. I loved it so much that my brain cannot compute words and put them together. So, I apologise for my reviews being very erratic, if anything. I loved the writing. I think Ali Hazelwood does a great job. She creates a really enticing story. There weren't too many jaw-dropping twists or anything, but there was enough to keep you engaged. And even then, but it was a really good story. I'm so happy that I actually got this book, because I'd read a heap of reviews on this one, actually, because I'm part of a romance fantasy book group on Facebook, and a lot of them were talking about this knotting scene, and I was so confused. So I was like, what is knotting? It's not something I'd heard of in other wolf lore books that I've read. So I was just really confused. And there were a lot of reviews that were like, oh, it was a really good book up until the knotting scene. That was really weird. And I was like, oh, okay, this is really interesting. I'm probably going to have to read it at some point and see what they're talking about. Why is this thing so weird? I'm not sure what people have a problem with, because it's not any worse than anything else that we've been reading, guys. We've read all of the things. If we're all on the same page about what types of books we're reading, we've all read the things. And the knotting scene was not... It wasn't that bad. And he thoroughly explained it. The main character, Lo, thoroughly explained it. And I was still like, cool, that's fine. So, I don't know. Anyway. The only thing I was a little bit confused about was the fact that the prologue was essentially the wedding day. Or was the wedding day, plus a few other things. You met her best friend, or her sister. You instantly knew who Misery was as a person, and that was great, because I love her as a main character. I love her personality. I love her dry humour. I love her witty comments. I love her sarcasm. It's great. And the further you get into the book and you start reading when she's interacting with other characters in this world, with her brother, with Lo, her husband, with the other werewolves in his clan, or they call it something else. I've forgotten the word right now. But yeah, it gets better and better. It's amazing. And you get really good banter between Misery and Lo as well, which is great. And it's a slow burn, but you are so rewarded. So rewarded. The first scene that peeks out to me is when he's marking her. And it was perfection. It was perfect. And it's exactly what I wanted for them. Because, yeah. And the story behind it was still amazing. So, I absolutely read A Touch of Darkness earlier today. And then finished this book this afternoon. And you can look at my video review of A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Had a really bad time with the story because there was no story and it just felt like pointless sex scenes. It just felt like you might as well have just read porn, honestly. At that point, it was pretty bad, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe the other books will get better. I don't have a choice but to read them now that I own them, so. But Ali Hazelwood did an amazing job with her story, and she absolutely hit enemies to lovers on the nail on the head. She absolutely gave you slow burn and rewarded you so very well for it afterwards. She absolutely gives you other characters in this story that you want to care about and that you would want more books written on. Like, I would love to read a book on Serena's life and how she came about to end up with Misery in the human territory, as they were both technically orphans. I'd be really interested to know about Owen's life, Misery's brother. Even the little snippets that you get of him throughout this story seem interesting. I would love to read about more of the other werewolves' lives as well. Alex was a big one. He was the other tech nerd he was the tech nerd for the wolves. I would love to read about him and his story. I would love to read about Mike's story, especially with what you find out closer to the end of the book. Yeah. Ali Hazelwood has done an amazing job with writing a really good story where I actually care about all of the characters that she's talking about. And I recently read the Powerless series, and I don't have a video review on that, but I did write a GoodReads review and I marked it quite low. The Powerless, the first book, wasn't bad. The Powerful, like the 1.5 that was about Adina, was not good. And that was a book and it was because I didn't care about any of the other characters other than the main character in Powerless and Prince Kai. So, but Ali's done a really great job of, I want to know more about all of these other characters that you get to meet throughout the story. Yeah. I loved this. I wish I had more coherent thoughts for you on what this book is about and what I love, like tidbits that I love the most. I loved this book. That's all I can get to you. TikTok was right. BookTok was right. This is absolutely well worth your time. Well worth a read. It's only 395 pages. Oh, hang on. $396 pages long. It took me about 4 hours to read the book. I did remember to actually get up and maybe go to the toilet and go get a drink at some point. And actually, I'm very excited because I think the next book, possibly. So, Oh, that's another thing. Perspectives. So I really love a female main character, but I like different perspectives, and I really like to see the male lover's perspective as well, because half the time I always find that he's like 10 times more feral than what she is about each other, if that makes sense. And I really wanted Lo's perspective, and like, so each chapter has, at the start of each chapter, has these like little blurbs, and I didn't realise until a few chapters in that it was Lo's point of view that you were getting, or like Lo's thoughts that you were getting, and I loved that. Loved that. But a whole chapter would have been great. You hold that to the end of the book and you get a whole chapter about him, from his perspective, and it made me very happy. It was very like happily ever after cliche chapter, but I'm not mad about it because he so deserved it. They both deserved it. And from the last page of this book, without completely ruining the ending for you, it seems like we might actually get those stories that I want from the other characters in the book when Ali writes the second one of this, which I... Anyway, so Bride by Ali Hazelwood. If you have not read this yet, you should definitely go out and grab it for yourself. It is an amazing read. It's an amazing story. And I need to know when the next book is coming out. And I will see you in my next review. Have a good night.